name is Keiko Torres. I'm the director of the Community Health and Wellness Program at Presente, Maine. I'm honored to welcome you all on behalf of the Maine Immigrants' Right Coalition and the People's Coalition for Safety and Justice. We're here today to announce the official launch of the Maine ICE Watch Hotline, a community-led project built out of love, solidarity, and the urgent need to protect our immigrant and refugee neighbors. Over the past months, more than 100 volunteers have come together, training as hotline operators and verifiers to make sure that when immigration enforcement activity happens in our state, our communities are informed, connected, and supported. Today's press conference will highlight why this hotline matters, how it works, and the power of collective action when we come together to keep our community safe. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge the community leaders, many of them standing behind me, elected officials, advocates, and media representatives who have joined us today. Thank you for standing with us. Here's our agenda for this afternoon. We'll begin with remarks from Councillor Pius Ali, followed by Councillor Wes Pelletier. Then we'll hear a testimonial from Presente Maine's Executive Director, Crystal Cron. And finally, we'll close with a brief Q&A and thank you. With that, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Portland City Councilor at Large, Pius Ali, to share remarks on the harm caused by criminalizing immigrants and the need for increased oversight of federal agencies. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and for standing on the side of community, compassion, and courage. Today, we are not just launching a hotline, we are building a human shield made of love, truth, and solidarity. The Maine ICE Watch Hotline is a lifeline for families, a bridge for neighbors, and a promise that no one in our community will face fear alone. A lot of people in our community have stepped forward to be trained, not because it is easy, but because it is right. They answer the phone when others are afraid to pick it up. They verify truth when rumors spread like fire. They protect through care, connection, and facts. We are seeing here in Maine and across the country tactics that feel designed to terrify communities, masked men unleashed on our streets to seize our neighbors, raise that threatened trust between residents and local law enforcement, and actions that jeopardize the safety of everyone in our community. This is not abstract. It affects real families and real lives. When our governor refuses to sign a bill that will prevent local and state law enforcement from being used to enforce harsh federal immigration laws, it sends the wrong message. It tells the federal agencies that they can come into our neighborhoods and act without restraint. But we, the people, will not let fear define our streets. We will use every lawful, peaceful tool to protect our neighbors, including rapid response lines, legal support, public advocacy, our collective action. Let us be clear, when the president says, deport them all, he is not talking about criminals. He is talking about our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, the people who clean our hospitals, teach our children, and build our homes. We cannot allow fear from Washington to break the bonds we have built here in Maine. We are saying loudly and clearly Our neighbors are not the enemy. Fear is the enemy. Misinformation is the enemy. Silence is the enemy. I came to this country as an immigrant from Ghana. I know what it feels like to be seen as other. And I know the power of someone standing beside you and saying, you belong. Thank you, Portland. Thank you, Maine. And I am here to extend the same feelings to other immigrants who have arrived here after I have been here. That is what this hotline represents, belonging in action. Today, we launch more than a number. We launch a promise. A promise that in Portland and in Maine, our response to fear will always be courage. Our answers to hate will always be hope. And our defense will always be each other. I am also calling on everyone who stands with immigrants to come forward and volunteer. Join us, step up, be part of this community defense network. Together, we can ensure that no family faces fear alone, and that our streets remain safe for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Counselor, for your powerful words and your ongoing leadership in defending human rights. Next, I'm honored to introduce Counselor Wes Pelletier, who not only serves on the Portland City Council for District 2, but also volunteers directly with the Maine Ice Watch Hotline. Wes will share why he chose to get involved and how volunteers across Maine are stepping up to increase safety for our families and workers.
As a city councilor for some of the most diverse neighborhoods in the state, I've seen firsthand how fear is taking hold of a lot of our communities. Truancy is on the rise as parents worry about something happening on the way to school. Our parks and playgrounds and our streets are more quiet. The threat from this administration is strangling the life from our communities, and I take that personally. Over the last few months, there's been a lot of quiet organizing to begin to take back a little bit of the feeling of security. It's both the need and the desire to help out have risen. It's become clear that we need a unified network to share information in a way that doesn't cause undue panic, is integrated into the communities it serves, and balances safety with accessibility. This hotline is that network. I'm so grateful to the organizations that have put in the work to get it up and running. I've taken the verifier training myself, and it provides invaluable guidance on seeing if, say, an unmarked car in your neighborhood represents a threat to your neighbors while remaining calm and not escalating the situation. I would urge anyone who wants to be involved in protecting their community who stands with immigrants to sign up for the next available training. It removes many of the unknowns and provides confidence in what can be a very scary situation. This training and this hotline provide a concrete way for our community to come together and form a network of defense mutual aid. This hotline embodies what solidarity means, showing up for our neighbors when they need us most. When our neighbors are under attack, standing up in solidarity and protecting them isn't just the right thing to do. It's an act of solidarity that makes the fabric of our community stronger and more resilient. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor Pelletier, for sharing your experience and for standing shoulder to shoulder with our immigrant communities. Now, our next speaker is not someone I mentioned earlier in the agenda, but very important to hear from, Reverend Dr. Jody Hayashida, who is here to speak about the faithful call to participate in the hotline. Please welcome her.
Every faith tradition explicitly teaches either care for the stranger and the foreigner or compassionate care for all life. The version of this teaching that many of us may be familiar with comes from Leviticus, beginning with chapter 19, verse 34. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love them as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. but the ethic of that teaching exists across traditions. Unitarian Universalism teaches the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Hinduism teaches ahimsa, Buddhism teaches metta, Islam reminds us that the Prophet himself was a refugee who fled violence. Whatever our tradition, we are taught to recognize the sacredness of every life and to treat it as such. Immigration practices in this country stand in direct opposition to these teachings of compassion and collective care. ICE and other enforcement agencies are engaged not only in general and widespread harassment of our immigrant neighbors, but also in racial profiling, the kidnapping of American citizens, disappearing immigrant community members, escalating physical violence, and an ongoing and expanding violation of constitutional rights. Our families, our friends, our neighbors are afraid to go to school, to work, to worship, to the hospital, to the store, to buy food, to feed their children. Federally sponsored terrorism is neither legitimate nor moral. And we, as people of faith across the spectrum of faith traditions, are called to oppose this campaign of terror, not only in word, but in deed by standing in solidarity with immigrant community members. Unlike many of the actions of ICE, every aspect of this ICE Watch hotline and verifier program is both legal and reflects the faithful teachings of care and love for the stranger. I encourage every person of faith to embrace the work of this hotline.
Thank you, Dr. Reverend Hayashida, for that call to action. Now we'll hear from Crystal Cron, the Executive Director of Presente Maine and one of the driving forces behind this effort. Crystal will speak about the real-life harm caused by recent ICE and Border Patrol activity and how the ICE Watch Hotline will support families during these difficult times.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Crystal Cron, and I'm with Presente Maine, a grassroots organization working at the intersections of racial, gender, climate, and economic justice to restore dignity, joy, and well-being to displaced and dispossessed Latina communities in Maine. I'm proud to stand here with community members, advocates, and allies as we launch the Maine ICE Watch Hotline, a tool to help protect our immigrant neighbors and defend our communities against ICE activity and harm. For years, we've seen how ICE raids and surveillance tear families apart, create fear in our neighborhoods, and push people further into the shadows. We've seen mothers afraid to take their children to school, workers afraid to go to their jobs, and families living in constant uncertainty. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because this system is built to criminalize and dehumanize them. And today, that reality is only getting worse. Across Maine and across the country, we're seeing a sharp escalation in immigration enforcement. More workplace arrests, more roadside stops, and more collaboration between local law enforcement and ICE. Agents are showing up at people's homes without warrants, targeting day laborers, and using surveillance to track and intimidate our communities. This isn't about public safety, it's about control and fear. It's about punishing people for surviving and contributing in a system that was never built for them to belong. That's why what we're doing today matters more than ever. Communities everywhere are facing increasing policing, criminalization, and organized abandonment. Mounting state violence and repression, rising white supremacist, homophobic, and transphobic attacks, and the continual crisis of climate collapse. In this reality, building skilled, coordinated, and resilient networks of collective care isn't optional. It's essential to our survival. The Maine ICE Watch Hotline is one piece of that larger ecosystem, a community-led alert and support system where anyone can call to report suspected ICE activity. Our trained volunteers will verify, document, and respond. This isn't about panic, it's about protection. It's about staying informed, connected, and ready to act together. When ICE shows up, we show up too, not with fear, but with solidarity. This hotline is a step towards the kind of community we all deserve, one rooted in trust, care, and collective defense. Every time we verify a report, share accurate information, or prevent an arrest, we're refusing to let fear and oppression define who we are. This hotline only works if the community uses it and spreads the word. Share the number with your neighbors, your coworkers, your congregation. Put it in your businesses and community centers. Learn how to spot ICE activity safely. Volunteer with us. This is how we'll keep each other safe. As we launch the Maine ICE Watch Hotline today, we are also building something bigger, a culture of community defense, mutual care, and truth-telling. We're saying clearly we will protect each other, we will speak up for each other, and we will not be silent. When they come for one of us, they come for all of us, and we will rise to meet the call of our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal, and thank you to all our speakers for your courage, leadership, and vision. Today we've heard stories and data that make one thing clear. Our immigrant neighbors deserve to live without fear. The Maine ICE Watch Hotline is not just a phone number. It's a lifeline, a bridge, and a symbol of what true community defense looks like. I want to thank our speakers, volunteers, partners, and everyone who helped bring this effort to life. Thank you also to the media for being here and helping us spread the word about this critical resource. Following the press conference, volunteers will be distributing multilingual flyers and posters to local businesses throughout downtown Portland. We encourage everyone to help share the hotline information widely. Thank you all for joining us today, for standing with Maine's immigrant and refugee families, and for being part of a movement that says clearly, we keep each other safe. Thank you.